Hey, bud. So Halloween is upon us, and for the past few years, I've made costumes for my husband and I as a cute little couple's costume moment. But this year, we get to add another costume to the costume party. We welcomed a little girl into our family, and I cannot wait to dress her up in my costume idea, which is, drumroll, you've already seen the title, so it doesn't matter. Astrid, Hiccup, and Toothless. She's toothless. I'm actually going to break this project up into 3 different videos, each video being a different character's costume, because I think it's going to take a long time, and I want to give each costume their own little moment. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait for the toothless cuteness. That rhymed. That rhymed. Because for this video, I'm going to be starting with my costume, Astrid. Let's get started. So here's my starting off point for Astrid's costume. I basically just thrifted a few things that I thought would be a good starting off point to add all the extra bits on top of, because I do not have time to sew everything from scratch. Newborn life. So I basically got these leggings that look like jeans, this skirt, this top, and these boots are boots that I already had. So all I have to do is just add some fur on top, and then I have to make my gloves, headband. Cool. Let's do it. So I found this faux fur at Dollarama, and my idea was to basically just sew strips of it onto the skirt. The first strip went on super easily, and I was happy with the results, so I kept going. But this is where the problem started. My needles kept snapping, my bobbin thread kept breaking, and thread kept getting caught under the plate. So I would get a couple strips of fur on, and then something would mess up, so I kept starting and stopping, opening the plate, fixing the problem, setting up the bobbin again, rewinding the string, threading the needle, and going again, over and over and over. I wasted days trying to get this ancient sewing machine to actually, sew. Okay, this happens to me every freaking time I make a costume, I swear. My sewing machine just decides to be like, bye! I'm not working anymore. I'm rage quitting for now, and I'm going to buy a sewing machine that's not from 1980, and hopefully I'll stop having delays due to issues with my costume, because I don't have time for fiddling around with needles every 2 seconds. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to leave the skirt as it is for now. This is what it currently looks like and move on to the next step and come back to it once my new sewing machine comes. God, sewing's such a headache. So the new sewing machine will be coming on Thursday. It's currently Sunday. So in the meantime, I'm going to be starting on something that doesn't require a sewing machine, obviously. So I'm going to be starting the skulls that are on the top of the belt. So I have a few different options, and I'm going to test them out to see what I like the best. I went to Dollarama and got these little fellas. And basically my idea is to press their little faces into clay and make a kind of mold out of them. And then after that, I'm going to take the mold that I made with the Skelly faces and put foam clay inside of the mold and let that dry. And oh, there's something in my bowl. Ugh. And once that dries, hopefully I'll have some nice little Skelly details for the top of the skirt. I wanted to use foam clay for them because foam clay is really, really light and will still hopefully make scully shapes. So that's option 1. Option 2 is I found these skull molds. Why is it so hard to say? Skull molds. And even though they're a little small, I'm going to give them a go as well and see. So let's get skull making. Let's get sculpting it. Once the molds were sculpted, I let them dry overnight and then applied Mod Podge and let that dry overnight so the foam clay wouldn't stick to the other clay. Who's ready for a face reveal? Damn, that looks good. And here's these ones. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think these ones are gonna work out so well because they're bigger and they have to go around my whole belt. And I feel like these ones would not be noticeable enough. Winner, chicken dinner. I bought some more clay so I can make a second mold so I can speed up production on these bibbies. Cool beans. Oh yeah, and here's the ones I did with the pre-made mold. I think they look really cool too, but again, they're quite small. Maybe I'll use a combo of this boy and these little ones. Like these little ones could be for the top of the cape area. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But for now, I'll just stick with these 4, make more of these babies. Cool. I have a new child. She's gorgeous, isn't she? My other child's waking up. I also have an update on the skirt. This dead animal shall forever and henceforth be known as my cape and not my skirt. Because I found this material, aka just a blanket, and I thought that this would work a lot better as a skirt. And this, I'll cut it and sew it and shape it, and it'll be good. I have faith. It's the next day. I got busy with mom life, so let's make that skirt. Maybe. So I had made a skirt in the past, but I wanted to try different styles, so I followed a newer tutorial online. But hoo-hoo, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it for a reason. Basically, I was supposed to cut out a waistband and then the skirt separately. I measured everything 3 times before cutting, and thank goodness I checked the waistband before cutting the rest of the skirt because it did not fit. I was very confused, so I just said and went back to the tutorial that I used for my last project. From the first stitch, I knew this machine was 1,000 times better than my old one. If you hear my baby crying in the background, my husband has with her, so do not worry, she is fine. But this is the skirt so far. I think it looks so much better than the monstrosity that I had going before. But I do think it's a little long. So I'm going to hem the skirt a little bit and then I can get started on the belt leather accessory doodad. This is going to be what I'm going to hang all of the leather bits off of. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's go. I started off by measuring the size I wanted them to be, and then I sketched it out onto a template. They're pretty uniform, so I wanted to make sure that mine would be as well. And if I've learned anything in the past, it's definitely keep things consistent. The material I found for these was a pair of pleather pants that I thrifted for $7, which is way cheaper than buying real faux leather. So I traced up my template onto the pants and got making. But once I got to the actual sewing part, the material was just way too stretchy and my machine wouldn't pull it through properly. But I was stubborn and kept trying anyway and wasted so much time. Eventually I gave up and decided just to use hot glue. This project is low-key, no, high-key kicking my butt. By the end of making my belt, this is what it ended up looking like, and as you can see, clearly my measurements were off and I need to think of another solution because the leather only goes around half of the skirt and it looks just kind of floppy and cheap. So yeah, I decided to invest in actual faux leather instead of trying to make things from other things like fake leather stretchy pants. So yeah, I bought some fake leather and now I can kind of make the costume look maybe kind of good, actually, not just cheap and I don't know. So now that I have the faux leather, I can do the belt, and also I'm probably gonna try and use it for Hiccup's costume eventually, but that's besides the point. Today I'm going to basically just redo what I did yesterday with the new leather, and hopefully it looks better. And I figured since we're going kind of closer to accurate Astrid costume now, I might as well make the skulls accurate. They actually aren't supposed to be human skulls, they're supposed to be bird skulls. So I made this little sculpture that I'm going to eventually make into a mold and start the foam clay process again. Because why not let this take longer? We're already here. I won't bore you with too much footage. Basically, I did the same process I did with the pants, but this time the sewing machine actually worked. Hooray! This is a huge improvement and I'm very happy with how the skirt came out. First of all, the belt thingy jiggies go all the way around. So that's something. Second, the seams are actually finished with an actual sewing machine and not hot glue. So things look much more put together. So the next step is to put on the skulls and the spikes. I think for the spikes, I'm also just going to make some sort of mold. So after sculpting my skulls and letting them dry for 24 hours, they end up looking a bit like flat pancakes. So I tried a little experiment and I put one in the freezer and hoping that it would like freeze it in place and like kind of dry it a little bit. So then when I take it out, it'll dry all the way and not become as flat of a pancake. Waiting for the results for that. So next step, I will be starting the armor and cape situation. So yeah, cool. Let's go. So my plan for my shoulder pads is basically to take these knee pads that I got from the dollar store and EVA foam and just kind of make the shoulder pads. Also, my daughter needs me. BRB. She needed her dummy. Like I was saying, have I ever used EVA foam before? No. But I've seen some things online. I can give it a go. So like the belt, I decided to make up a template with paper before hacking into the EVA foam because I only had a limited amount of foam and I also wanted both shoulder pads to be exactly the same. Once I was happy with the result, I traced my paper onto the foam and cut it out for realsies. And it was just good old hot glue and stick them on. Then I sculpted out some little balls in foam clay, aka the spike bolt things on the shoulder armor, and spray painted them silver. So the freezer method worked way better than just letting it dry. You can tell clearly which one looks the best. So yeah, my freezer will be full of bird skulls. Sorry, husband. That's just how it goes now. Okay, so now we wait for my foam clay to dry. I'm gonna start on the cape, and it actually looks like it has a hood on it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to achieve that with just this much material, but probably just do like a little, just like a cape, like I said. Time to destroy this thing. Okay, so I tried pinning it kind of like the hood is on her actual costume, and this is definitely too small. I'll show you. So if I put the hood up, it'd be like that, but then there's like nothing at the back. So I'm just gonna go with the cape. It's not gonna be 100% accurate, but like this costume is not 100% accurate anyways, it'll do. I'm just gonna shape it kind of like how hers is, and then work on the attachment part of the front and call it a day. So my method here is basically just to fudge around and find out. I folded the cape to kind of resemble the shape of hers and then pinned it in place, tried it on, pinned it again, cut, etc. Here it is after trimming, and I was pretty happy with the shape, but I just needed to do some cleanup, like securing some of the fur down better and trimming bits that stuck out. For the fastener, I just took some elastic I had left over from the skirt, added some Velcro to either end, poked it through either side of the cape, and secured them around this metal hoop that I got. Okay, so here it is. I think it's looking so good. All I'll need is to add the skulls that attach here. But yeah, it's functional, it's comfortable, it's warm, it kind of looks accurate, so I consider that a win. Is it perfect? Obviously not, because this is my first time doing anything like this, and I didn't have a pattern. I just winged it, so I'm proud of myself. That's all that matters. Here's a closer look at it, and yeah, so the skulls will go here. Okay, my skulls and my shoulder armor are all dry, and I think they're looking so cool. I might add a bit of dirt effect to them just so they look a bit more used in battle, I guess. Yeah, then it's time to put them on the skirt. It's all coming together slowly, and I didn't think it was going to sometimes, so I'm pleasantly surprised. Considering this is the second costume I've really made ever, I think it's going pretty well. Let's get some detail on these and put them on the skirt. This process was pretty simple. I just measured out the top and bottom, cut, sewed, and voila. Pretty straightforward. I toyed with the idea of adding my faux fur to the top of the boots, but the fur was too gray and didn't really match the rest because the rest was kind of beige-ish. Okay, so I just spent some time cleaning up the cape a little bit. There's just some edges that were fake fur in my eyeball. There's just some edges that needed a little bit of help, so I cleaned that up. Now I'm going to work on the gloves, which I've got this material for it, which is literally just another blanket from Dollarama. Since the gloves kind of look like the inside out of animal hide, this looks kind of like it. So I'm gonna use this. And her gloves are actually kind of big around her arm. So I'm going to stuff the inside of the gloves, probably with polyfill, if that's not gonna make my arms like so sweaty that I want to rip them off. Let's figure out what I'm doing because I don't have a plan yet. Yeah. I then proceeded to way overcomplicate how to do this. I folded the material in half so I could stuff the polyfill inside. Fine, that made sense. But then for some reason I thought the best way to do this was to just start wrapping it around my hand and arm, pinning things, sewing a bit, and then putting it back on, sewing more and repeating. I also got excited and stuffed them way too early, so sewing in itself was kind of complicated. I wasted an entire day just fiddling around with one glove, when I could have just... Anyway, it was time to do the finishing touches. I made this headband out of the same pleather as the skirt and added an elastic for comfort. And then I also covered my store-bought knee pads with the pleather as well. I'm getting good use out of this pleather. I am glad I bought it. I originally used staples to secure it all together, but the foam of the knee pads was way too soft to hold them, so I just used good old super glue. So for my arm rope, or the rope that goes around the gloves and my arm, I have a few options. I have this thicky rope, this thinner twine, and then I have this, which is wired, so that might be kind of easy to wrap around and secure. And then I have this ribbon, but let me look at the reference photo for a second. So yeah, the reference photo is quite dark brown, so I guess that cancels out these two. So yeah, one of these is probably the best. I think the darker ribbon looks better and is most accurate to the original color. So yeah, decision made. This process was wrapping the rope around a bit, hand sewing it in place, and then repeating all the way up the gloves. Simple, easy, straightforward. Love it. Hello, so I'm going to just get into hair and makeup, and as I do so, I thought I would talk about things that went wrong, things that I would change, things that I could have done better in this costume making process. So the first obstacle that I had, which really isn't something that can be avoided, is just finding time. I have a newborn, like I said. She's 2.5 months old right now. So I guess I should have just managed my expectations a bit more. Because yeah, I mean, having a baby takes so much out of your day. You have to constantly feed, change diapers. There's loads of things that a baby needs. And even though I'm on mat leave, which I thought being on mat leave would mean that I would have more time, it doesn't. There's a reason there's a mat leave. And it's because taking care of a baby is a full-time job, which I didn't fully consider when I started this. Luckily, I had help. I had my mom look after baby while I worked on my costume, and also my husband, shout out, which was amazing. I wouldn't have been able to do this if I didn't have help. So it really takes a village, and yeah, it really takes a village. I should have done this the other way. Let me just undo this and do it again. But I also think it's important to keep your hobbies even when you have a newborn, because you can easily get wrapped up in not doing anything but take care of baby. And something that's really important to me is making stuff. And I think if I didn't take the time to make stuff, I would be a lot worse off mentally, and it's far better to be in a good mental state. Okay, so she has like a full side part, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back to 2016. Another thing that would have sped up my process a lot more was having a proper sewing machine. I have been using this old sewing machine at the beginning of the video. Definitely at least like 50 years old, I would say. So yeah, I should have upgraded my sewing machine a lot sooner. It would have sped up this whole thing. But I was just using what I had. I didn't see a need for getting a new sewing machine because I thought it worked properly. And I thought it was just me that was messing it up. But once I got my new sewing machine, I realized it was not me. It was the sewing machine. It's old, and I should have upgraded a long time ago. But anyway, not perfect, obviously, but it works. I think another thing I could have done better is not restarting everything. I restarted the skirt and the gloves and the skull idea. I think I should have had a clear idea of what I was going for. In terms of the skulls, I was going to do something simple, even though it wasn't 100% accurate. But then once I got further into the costume, I was like, no, I want this to be a bit more accurate. And so that's why I restarted the skulls. But had I just wanted to be accurate from the get-go, then it could have avoided all that. So I guess having a clear expectation of what I want the costume to be, instead of just saying like, oh, this is good enough, actually think about whether or not I want it to be better than that. Okay, here's the hair. Astrid? Pretty good. Makeup is pretty minimal. I don't even know if she wears any makeup. She's an animated character. I don't know if she's been modeled to have makeup on. Just gonna do my basic makeup, which is mascara, some lip color. That's it. Some concealer. Call her a day. Okay, so now let's just get on the costume and I'll see you in the final reveal.